A warm welcome to this, our offering of reconciliation on this, the first annual week of reconciliation. 2021 marked a turning point in our federal government's desire to continue their walk in reconciliation with our First Nations people by declaring September 30th as a National Day of Reconciliation. And so we at St. John's have decided to put together a compilation of videos and liturgy to help mark this occasion throughout this week. Reconciliation happens when we start to engage more and more with the story of our history and the story of our past. One of the most significant elements of our history with our First Nations people was the legacy of the residential school system and our church's role in that. The Indian residential school system was established by the Government of Canada for the express purpose of assimilation of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis into the non-Indigenous world. Indian residential schools were funded by the federal government and administered and staffed in some cases by various Canadian Christian denominations, including the Anglican Church of Canada. The Anglican Church administered about 36 residential schools between 1820 and 1969, operating at its peak a total of 24 concurrently. Over 150,000 children attended the Indian residential schools across the country over many generations. In many instances, children were sent to school many, many miles away. Parents were threatened with loss of their Indian status or even arrest and jailing if they refused to send their children to these schools or release them into the custody of the Indian agent or even the RCMP who came to collect them. At least 6,000 of those children never returned home from these schools. One of the objectives of our liturgy today will be to take that step in working towards reconciliation by listening to the word, by acknowledging the territory on which we stand, and by praying for reconciliation, for praying for hope, and by praying for peace.
We begin by acknowledging the traditional territory upon which we gather on this day. For many thousands of years, the Algonquin Nation have sought to walk gently on this land. They offered assistance to the first European travelers to this territory and shared their knowledge for survival in what was at times harsh climate. We seek a new relationship with the original peoples of this land, one based in honor and deep respect. Hello, welcome to St. John's. We would like to share with you our part of our journey in truth and reconciliation. To start with, I'd like to use some Indigenous greetings so that you understand that whether it's hello, ani, tanse, sego, these all are the same. We in the Anglican family use the common book of prayer in order for ourselves to pray to our God, our gracious Lord. And in Indigenous communities, often these sacred medicines are used to pray to the Creator who sets free. I wanted to introduce you today to what some of the sacred medicines are, and wanted you to think about what is special to you and sacred to you in prayer. So to start with, we have traditional tobacco. This was the first medicine given by the Creator. Around it is sweetgrass, which associates us with Mother Earth and kindness and compassion. In front is sage, which helps us remove all negative energy. And beside it is cedar, which also helps cleanse. So whether we use the common book of prayer or we use these sacred medicines, we really are all one family. Orange Shirt Day, as you know, is September 30th, and you may be hearing now the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. In 2015, at the end of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, there was a number of calls to action, 94. Number 80 is what was asking us to do a day for National Truth and Reconciliation. It goes, we call upon the federal government in collaboration with Aboriginal or Indigenous people to establish as a statutory holiday the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. I want to share with you my journey. So I brought some of the books that help me understand brothers and sisters who live in different Indigenous communities. They include hearing stories and becoming witnesses so that we understand some of the suffering that has taken place in the past and that still exists today. We're all called to be witnesses. Wherever we come from, there is a place for us on the medicine wheel, nation to nation. And the medicine wheel is very sacred in Indigenous communities. It is one of the sacred teachings which brings us all together. So today I'd like to start by reading a story of a residential school survivor, I've Lost My Talk by Rita Jill. I Lost My Talk, words by Rita Jill, art by Pauline Young. I lost my talk, the talk you took away. When I was a little girl at Shubenacadie School, you snatched it away. I speak like you. I think like you. I create like you. The scrambled ballad about my word. Two ways I talk, both ways I say. Your way is more powerful. So gently I offer my hand and ask, let me find my talk so I can teach you about me. A short history of residential schools. The Canadian government imposed its Indian residential schools program on Indigenous people for over 100 years. It began in the 1870s and ended in 1996, when the final school in Saskatchewan was shut down. Funded by the federal government and run by churches who saw the residential school system as a chance to create new religious converts. These institutions were not really schools. They were an attempt by the Canadian government to destroy Indigenous culture and peoples and eliminate, they called the Indian problem. They were an attempt, the government, to admit, to take the Indian out of the child. To accomplish this goal, people known as Indian agents, who worked for the newly created Department of Indian Affairs, would regularly snatch children from their community. These children, sometimes as young as 5, would typically remain at the schools until the age of 16.
Tatang namig say mandingan biulilaw mga tautung nanga nani to Sarama, Saima Yumik, Datamilau, Unga Ayung Ningmik, Tatak Tunga Kai Kuling Manga. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved